Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining Capsim's webinar, How Not to Be Soft on Soft Skill Development. Start with an engaging and objective assessment. I'm Kirsten DeBrouwer, Learning Program Consultant with Capsim Management Simulations, and I'm joined today by Dr. Eric Deerdorf. I'm going to start off today by giving you a little bit of background about Capsim, and then we're going to learn a little bit about this new assessment tool. I'm going to share with you why this tool matters, how it was designed, of course, what it looks like, and a little bit about the validity of the product. At Capsim, we believe in experiential learning, learning by doing. We believe that this is the best method of learning for adults and students. Everything we design and develop has this methodology at its core, from our business simulations to our assessments. Capsim has been around since 1985. We are a global leader in business simulation technology and services designed to teach business acumen in any environment. We seek to create exceptional, measurable learning environments while providing real data to substantiate learning concepts. Our vision is to be a powerful ally and partner in the education and training field, bringing theory to life and providing thought leadership to the academic and corporate communities. I'm a learning program consultant here at Capsim. I've been working with simulations and assessments for more than 10 years. It's my job to partner with clients and potential clients and walk them through building an experiential learning program. I mentioned earlier that Dr. Eric Deerdorf is joining us. He is a professor of management at DePaul University in Chicago. His expertise includes human capital strategy, individual assessments, and employee learning and development. In addition to publishing dozens of articles, he has consulted on a wide variety of organizations, including GE, Nortel Networks, and U.S. Special Forces. He also oversaw the development of CapsimInbox, which is the focus of our call today. So CapsimInbox evaluates the 5 soft skills you see on your screen: initiating, problem solving, organizing, leading, and communicating. It is for anyone seeking to hone their skills, develop professionally, and improve their performance effectiveness. For example, entry-level employees can be onboarded more quickly by identifying the skills they need right now to speed up their learning curves. New managers can precisely focus on the skill areas most in need of improvement to have a more immediate and positive impact. Seasoned managers can self-diagnose strengths to maintain areas in need of development to ensure continuous learning. Eric, can you tell us a little bit more about why you chose these 5 skills and how you came to develop the CapsimInbox?
Sure, thanks, Kirsten. You know, it's interesting when we step back and we think of how to develop employees in today's organizations, we're really talking about solving the talent equation. And when you go out and you look at these large-scale surveys of human resource professionals and learning professionals, there's been a number of these. When they're talking about issues of talent management and solving the talent equation, it seems that 3 key challenges keep arising from these data. The first of which is the idea of how do we address our bench strength, developing up the leaders of tomorrow. And this really entails addressing issues such as identifying talent, understanding if that talent is ready and promotable into higher level positions. There's also a challenge around fostering a growth mindset. And so what this really requires among our folks is that we have to establish self-awareness, knowledge of one's own strengths and weaknesses, and also this idea of ownership of change, right? That you're accountable for your own development, how to foster that. And the third challenge seems to be this idea around learning agility. How do we enhance learning agility among our people? And it really comes down to the idea, can we promote adaptability and flexibility among our people? And really teaching folks how to learn, which is interesting when you think of adults. You think they would have figured this out by now with all of their years of schooling, but there's an awful lot of research that shows that many adults, even high performers, struggle kind of self-manage their own learning. And so addressing these 3 key challenges is absolutely essential for solving the talent equation. And so as Kirsten noted earlier, CapsimInbox focuses on these 5 key skills, which really addresses the question of where should we turn our talent management attention, if you will. And fortunately here, we've been studying this for a number of decades. There's very large-scale studies on this. And if you look across all of these studies, and you can see a few of these, just more recent ones over the last year or two, on the top left of your screen, there seems to be 5 attributes that seem to keep percolating, keep rising to the top in all of these different studies. Leadership, communication, problem-solving, teamwork, and initiative always seem to be the key attributes that employers desire, they want, but often find are quite rare in job candidates. And you can see some of these large-scale surveys. The first 2 are global surveys. The third is a survey based on U.S. institutions of higher education. And then the last one you can see, of course, is very global, which is LinkedIn. The interesting thing here is not only are these important at the talent acquisition stage, so these are desirable skills but are rare in a lot of the candidates we seek to hire, there's also a lot of data suggesting that these very same capabilities can be primary derailers, obstacles for career progress. And so at the bottom right here, you're seeing the results of a 20-year study of Fortune 500 companies. And in the study, they were trying to understand what are some major reasons why people fail to be promoted. They fail in their career progression. And you can see these 5 key reasons: problems within personal relationships, failure to meet business objectives, inability to build and lead a team, inability to develop or adapt, or being too functionally or too technically oriented, too much of a marketer or too much of an engineer. And what's interesting here, the common theme across these derailers is really the idea of a lack of the so-called soft skills. So what we can really see here from all of these data is that it's important on the front end of talent acquisition, but these very same attributes also drive success as people go through their life cycle of their careers. You know, some of you might be saying, well, there's a lot of research on this. It sounds like, you know, we've known this for quite a while. Why is this still a problem in 2017? And it's a great question. I wonder it myself. This is really where there seems to be a divide between what we know from research and what is done in practice, right? There seems to be a gap here, a misalignment. So if we look to the research around professional development, leadership development, career management, we know that for any tool to truly promote learning and development, it really needs to meet 4 criteria. The first criterion is you want your tool to assess both knowing and doing. So what we're talking about here is not just knowledge, but skills or the skillful application of that knowledge. Your tool needs to also foster accurate self-awareness. And the key word here is accurate. So not just self-reported information, but objective information that's provided to participants. The third criterion is delivering an engaging and relevant experience. So here we're talking about fidelity or the realness of the assessment. We want more hands-on type tools, experiential tools that get people more engaged in the assessment experience. And of course, the data that are provided need to be career related and needs to matter to one's job. Finally, certainly not last but certainly not least, is the tool needs to provide actionable feedback. So we're not talking about simple profiles of personality traits, but giving people feedback that's specific, that's developmental, that's behavioral, and importantly also not just provides feedback on key attributes or key areas to improve, but also provides application guidance. So teaching people how to, or giving recommendations on how to apply this feedback is critically important. And so what's interesting about this, if we look to tools that meet these 4 criteria, the ones we often use may not meet all 4 of these, and there's not that many in the marketplace in general that can sort of tick off all 4 of these criteria. And so before I turn it over to Kirsten to give you a little snapshot and a walkthrough of what CapsimInbox looks like, I just wanted to give a little bit of background for some of you on the call, on the webinar here. Some of you may be familiar with the idea of assessment centers. Long been used for selection purposes, especially into higher level leadership positions. More recently been used for developmental purposes. And so within these developmental assessment centers, there's a series of exercises. And one that is common to nearly every assessment center is an exercise called an in-basket or an inbox type exercise. And that's what CapsimInbox is modeled after. And so it puts you into a role, a simulated role of a leader, and you have to confront a variety of situations and problems that occur in a typical day or week or life, if you will, of a leader or manager. And so what CapsimInbox is modeled after that traditional assessment center exercise. But the interesting thing about Inbox is use of technology allows the assessment to be put online, taken anywhere, and have additional features that increase the realness and the impact of the assessment itself. So without further ado, I'd like to pass it back to Kirsten so she can walk through and give you a show and tell, if you will, of the product itself.
Thank you so much, Eric, for that history and background. I'm sure everybody's excited to actually see the tool. So when you first log in, you're going to see this introductory screen. And this is a video, which I'm not going to play because unfortunately it doesn't play over GoToMeeting. The CapsimInbox is designed to be entirely self-directed. It takes about 60 minutes to complete, during which participants must address a variety of situations, problems, information, and messages. All of these are designed to elicit and assess the 5 skills. The average length of time for somebody to complete the assessment is about 45 minutes, though. They do have 60 minutes to complete it. It is completely self-directed. This gives you just a little bit more information as you continue to get used to the product. It gives you a few tips. Be mindful of your time. Read and think carefully about your choices. Have fun and do your best, and use a notepad to help you respond. The primary objective of the exercise is to review and respond to emails and messages. So once again, it takes about 60 minutes to go through all of these emails and messages. But before you begin, Eric talked a little bit about fostering self-awareness. So we have a self-assessment. This is the idea you are grading yourself on how well you feel you perform these skills on a scale from 1 to 100. Now this is in comparison to your peers. So if I put myself at leading at an 80%, it means that I feel that I am better than 80% of my peers, but 20% of them are still better at leading than I am. It's very similar to if you have a child or a baby and you bring it to the doctor and they tell you that the baby's in the 80th percentile for height and weight. It's just a comparison against your peers so you know where to begin, and then you can help build and improve those skills. We go on to learn a little bit more information about the company and your role. You are the Director of Sales and Operations, and you've been in this leadership role for 18 months at this company called Ubiquitools. You currently have 12 direct reports on your team, 7 sales staff, 4 operation and production staff, and your administrative assistant named Jordan. Your team has 1 position that's open. Your immediate supervisor is the SVP of Sales and Operations. Ubiquitool is a manufacturing company, and you're making products that are the Internet of Things. So think about being able to control your lawn or the temperature of your home from using the web service. And you can actually scroll down in the tool itself to learn a little bit more about each one of these products. But we're going to go ahead and jump into the CapsimInbox. Now, as your role, you've been on vacation for a week and you're coming back and sitting down, grabbing your cup of coffee and getting ready to go through your email. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the tool looks like. Hopefully this should look very similar to any email system that you use. You have your email list and your reading pane. You also have some instant messages that are going to pop up throughout the simulation or assessment. Think of these as, I don't know if you use Skype messages or your company uses instant messages, or it could be a text message if you don't use that. There's also this great file drive, which is full of wonderful information, a little bit more details about the company, again, some background on the company, more information about your product. There are these org charts that you can open up so you can find out who these people are that are sending you these emails, and it also gives you the names and roles of your direct report. There's also this great folder called Midwest Sales Ops, and in this folder is going to be all kinds of background information that you may need to access in order to be able to answer some of these emails. Now, people go through their email inbox in different ways. Some people go top to bottom, some people go bottom to top, some people read subject lines and authors and decide which emails they're going to answer first. No matter which way you go through this, you will be evaluated on how you are answering and the order that you're going through these emails. So let's go ahead and take a look at one of these emails. This one is from Jen Grawl. She is your boss, if you remember, and she's asking you some questions in regards to your sales goals for the year. She's saying, as you all know, I've just returned from our yearly executive strategy planning meeting. The company has set a goal this year to generate 1/5 of our revenue from our products that are less than 2 years old. We feel this goal is attainable, but we need your help. By the end of next month, I would like to see a report that details your strategy within your region for driving this goal. I'm going to skip down a little bit. While growth is up overall, our sales of our newest products fell by 4%. At least for the present, our mainstay product line is doing well, but we know it won't be long until customers are asking for the latest and greatest. I know this is a tall order, but I'm confident that your teams can make it happen. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions or concerns. So as you read these emails, you go ahead and you scroll down to the bottom. There are 5 choices of how you want to respond to Jen and for every email. And in these choices, we go into these shades of gray. There are 1 or 2 choices that may be the best choices, and you're going to receive a lot of positive points for them. There may be 1 or 2 choices that are good choices, and you'll receive some positive points for them. Some options are neither good or bad, so you receive no points. And then there may be 1 or 2 options that are not the best choice, so you will receive some of those negative points for if you go ahead and choose those options. So taking a look at another email, this one is from Jackie Mendoza in Accounts Receivable. Dear Eric, which how nice is it that your name actually pipes in? That's a lot of fun. Says, Dear Eric, I've been reviewing your team's quarterly sales report and have a question about some of the billing. In particular, I noticed the invoice processed by one of your sales reps, Jim Janis, are different from other sales reps on your team. These discrepancies seem to be for bulk orders over 450 units of Climate. Each of these invoices shows a line item labeled special discount with an associated 15% cost reduction. Are you running a new promotion for this product? So you're going to go ahead and read these answers and pick your answer, but you may have noticed up in the upper right-hand corner, we have an instant message. So before we answer this email, let's go ahead and take a look at this instant message. This instant message is from Jordan. If you remember, Jordan is your administrative assistant, so it's probably pretty important to pay attention to messages from her. And she says, sorry to interrupt. I know you're super busy, but there's an employee here from production who doesn't appear all that happy. Uh-oh. In fact, he's snarling at me as I type. He won't tell me why he wants to meet with you, but is insistent on talking with you. What should I do? So similarly to the email, you have a couple options that you can choose right here. You just go ahead and toggle which option you would like, hit reply, and the instant message will go ahead and pop up the one that you chose to reply. Let's take a look at one more email. And this email is very interesting because you need to actually go ahead and access some of that information in the file drive to answer this email. So this email is from Mike Michaels in Human Resource, and he says, the schedule for upcoming training events is now posted to everyone's drive box. Please review the schedule and reply with your specific choices by the close of business today. We want to ensure that we have enough registered people to warrant running each of the various programs. So if you actually open up your Midwest Sales Ops, you're going to notice this file called Potential Training Events. So if we go ahead and click on that, it opens up this pop-up window that has this great chart in it. It has the name of each one of these upcoming training programs, a description, a cost per program, and the length for the program. So this is where you can look at your budget and decide who do you want to send to what program, how much is it going to cost me. But I need a little bit more information about who to send to each program. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is open up that organizational chart. Now that I look at this organizational chart, I can match which employees need exactly which training, do a little bit of calculation either on my head, paper, or use a calculator, and figure out exactly how much all of this training is going to cost. And do I have enough budget to get the right people to the right program. I would actually leave this open as I go ahead and go back to the email and answer that question. Now there are, when you first start the Capsim inbox, 19 emails for you to go through. You will have several instant messages that will pop up during the course of this time. When you have gone through all the emails and instant messages, you will know that you are done because the simulation will tell you. Before I go on to show you what the feedback reports look like, I just want to pause for a moment and point out at the top of the screen here, there is this clock ticking down from 60 minutes. Now, I do understand that this could be very distracting for somebody going through the assessment. So with that button, you can simply hide that clock. Now, that doesn't mean that the clock stops. You're not that lucky. It just means that that clock is no longer ticking down at the top, and when time runs out, it will turn red, and you get this great message that pops up, making it very clear to you that the assessment is over, and you'll know that you have completed it. Now, Eric mentioned in the beginning the idea of this in-basket exercise. Now, this used to have to be done in person. A proctor had to come in. You went through and you wrote out several emails or responses to emails by hand. That person would take the information back to their office and go ahead and go through it, and then send you a report later on. What's great about the Capsim inbox is you don't have to wait. The feedback report is right there available for you after you finish the assessment. Now, there's several really wonderful things about this report. First of all, you get information both graphically and in text. So you hit those learners who need pictures and those learners who need text to get them the information that they need. It is also completely individualized feedback. This is feedback exactly for me. Every participant gets slightly different feedback based on their scores. So the first thing you see is this overall performance. This is how well, again, they rated compared to their peers. This person did really well at a 74. They're doing better than 73% of their peers. Now, 26 of their peers are still performing a little bit higher than they are. So there may be some areas that this employee would like to look at improving those skills. After the overall performance, you can see a development index. This not only rates you on how well you perform the skills, but how consistently do you perform these skills. Now, in an ideal world, we want all of our employees to be in the upper right-hand corner, being very high-performing employees at these 5 skills and performing very consistently, but we are all human beings. So this is just a reminder to not only perform the skills at your best ability, but to try to be as consistent as possible while performing these skills. As we scroll down a little bit further in this report, we take a look at the self-awareness rating. Now, this idea is, at the beginning, I did that self-evaluation, and now I've gone through the Capsim inbox. The closer my self-evaluation is to the scores that the Capsim inbox gave me, the higher my number of the self-awareness score, the more I know myself. Now, if this number is smaller, it may mean that there are some gaps that this employee is having. Maybe they're not performing as well as they feel they should be. So speaking of gaps, let's take a look at the skill gap. Now, these are the 5 skills, again, that Capsim inbox does evaluate you on. And what's great about this visual representation is you can easily see where the employee evaluated themselves with a circle, and then where the Capsim inbox evaluated them. So if we take a look at initiating, the person going through evaluated themselves at a 90% for initiating, but Capsim inbox evaluated them only at a 50%. So this is where some of that self-awareness really starts to happen, and the employee notices that they have some skill gaps. Initiating may be something that I want to improve. As Eric has mentioned, you don't just need the knowledge of these skill gaps, but you have to start developing these skills as well. So when I click next, the assessment starts to take you through this wonderful individual development plan builder to help you improve and grow these skills. It starts out with a little bit about how to self-manage your development. You know, it says observe your current skill level, set a specific goal, learn about the skill, practice and seek feedback, and don't forget to reward yourself. Learning and growing is difficult, so don't forget that very important last step. As we continue down on this page, you have those very important 5 skills again. You have the score, so you can see again how you've rated for each one of these scores in comparison to your peers. You have the need of how much do you need to improve these skills, and then you have the improve button. And I'll go over what happens when you click the improve button for individual skills in just a moment. But first, I would like Eric to tell us more about the development-based tactics that show up when you click the arrow next to each one of these skills.
So thanks, Kirsten. This is one aspect of the assessment tool that I find particularly valuable, and I'm pretty impressed that it's able to be integrated. So not only does it give people skill scores, after someone chooses a particular skill that they want to develop, they can open up developmental tactics. And you're looking at one right here. We don't expect you to read the entire thing, but I wanted to show you how detailed these developmental tactics really are. They're all structured about the same. It always starts out with the first component there at the top, which describes what the skill is, so it defines it so people can understand what skill they would like to develop. Then it leads into, how do I learn more about this particular skill? So here you can see problem solving. And then once you learn more about it, then how do I go about practicing problem solving skills? And so it describes how to look for situations where this is relevant. And then finally, at the end, the developmental tactics always have a section that gives very, very specific strategies to begin your development immediately. And so, for example, you can see some of these recommendations for improving problem-solving skills. So when you're confronted with a given problem, seek to have more than 2 possible solutions to any one of your problems. We know from decades of research that, for example, generating multiple options to given problems leads to more effective problem solving and decision making. Again, the key here is to have this be self-directed so people can own their own development, and to provide evidence-based developmental tactics that are taken from the rich body of literature on these various skills. So I'll pass it back to Kirsten now to show you the rest of this development plan builder.
Thank you, Eric, for that deeper dive into the developmental tactics. So on that first page, if you go ahead and hit that improve button that I mentioned earlier, we're going to go ahead and start that individual development plan builder, and step 1 is to reflect on the skill. Why is this skill important today? Why is this skill important in my future career? And how does this skill affect my outside life outside of work? Because we all have an outside life too. And then also, where might you think or practice this skill to get better at it? So before you update this skill or figure out how you want to improve it, take a moment to think about why this skill is important to you and how it's going to help you grow as a manager if you actually take time to improve these skills. So once you have reflected about why these skills are important, it's time to set a goal. So we know how difficult it can be to get employees to set these SMART goals, a goal that is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Normally, you have to take time out of your busy day to sit down with these employees, but the system actually helps the employees put a goal together for you. And you start out by filling out, when do you want to accomplish your skill development? Give it a date. What percentage of improvement would you like to see? You know, I perform pretty good at problem solving, so maybe 10 or 15% improvement. And how will you evaluate your progress? Are you going to go through the CapsimInbox again? Are you going to get peer feedback, manager feedback, or do a self-evaluation? And as you fill out this information in the system, the SMART goal is automatically created and built for you right here at the bottom. All right, so I've thought about my skill I want to improve. I've set myself a goal. I'm feeling very ambitious. But how am I going to make all of this happen? Well, time to create a plan. And in this plan, you can go ahead and you get those development tactics again if you click right where this arrow is for read a little bit more information. But now it's time to actually take and think about some steps. And this is a point where I would pause and have the employee meet with either their HR business partner or their boss or some peers or feedback team groups and find out, what do you have available already at your organization? What training do you have that maps exactly to this skill? And we will work with organizations ahead of time to map any training that you have in your LMS, TED Talks, classes, or books to recommend resources that match for these skills. If you don't have those resources available, we can help share some with you. Now, what's really great about this is you can add as many steps as you want. So you can add 3 or 4 steps. And then if you maybe a few months down the road, you want to add another step, you can log back in and update this individual development plan. So it really becomes this living, breathing document. Now, after you go ahead and you've reflected on this skill, you've set yourself a goal, you've created a plan, now you're going to get a perfect report that prints this all out very nice and neat for you to take back again and have another meeting with your manager, your HR business partner, your team, your peers, and you can say, this is what I've decided to do. I'm going to improve my problem solving, and this is how I'm going to do it. Now, in the middle of this meeting, if your manager goes, Kirsten, that's great. However, I'm more concerned about your leading skill, I can log back into CapsimInbox and go through the individual development plan again for leading. So it really is that opportunity to update and change as many times as you want as you continue to grow and improve these skills. Now, CapsimInbox can be used in several different ways. At the individual level, it's self-directed. CapsimInbox is a basis for performance conversation between employees and their managers or their teammates. At the HR business partner and talent manager level, CapsimInbox is a foundation for choosing specific developmental interventions. And at an organization standpoint, CapsimInbox can provide direct linkages to the opportunities that tie into the trainings that you already have at your organization. Now, CapsimInbox can be used in a 4th way as well. If you have a group of people that you're going to put through a leadership development program, you can have all of them go through CapsimInbox ahead of time and then take a look and analyze and see if there are any trends across that participation group, and then really create a leadership development program that addresses the specific skill gaps of those participants, which is a great way to help them grow. So you can have them go through the inbox, have your leadership program, and then maybe 6 months or 3 months down the line, have them go through CapsimInbox again to see how effective and get some of that return on investment information from CapsimInbox. Now, you've seen this tool. We've talked about why we've developed this tool. We talked about the feedback report, but I'm sure you're wondering, how valid is this? Does it really work? Eric?
Thanks, Kirsten. So as Kirsten said, you had a chance to sort of see the way this thing works, and then the development tool that's attached to the feedback to walk people through their own self-development change plan. But a great question really is, in this world of work in which we exist, tons of information. It's very information rich, but often resource constrained. So an incredibly important question for any HR professional or learning professional to ask is, I like the tool, but is it evidence-based? Is it a valid tool, essentially, is what you're asking. And just to kind of walk through very briefly the process by which this is developed and the ensuing and the continuing research on it, it really is an evidence-based solution. Like all Capsim products, it's well thought out, and it follows the state of the research and as well as state of technology when building the products. And so from the very beginning, the creation of CapsimInbox, the way it was done was reviewing the behavioral science literature and practitioner literature. So the practitioner literature, which we alluded to earlier, sort of kept talking about the same set of skills as critical and essential. And so that's how these skills came to be assessed by CapsimInbox. The scientific literature was reviewed to see what kinds of skills and how best to assess these skills occurs within assessment center context. So we sort of, what are the skills we want to assess and how well can they be assessed in an inbox environment? While building this tool, typical conventional test development procedures were followed. That assess psychometric quality of the assessment, how precise, how reliable the assessment was. There were subject matter experts involved as well in content development and review. In this particular version of CapsimInbox, there were 4 industrial organizational psychologists, all PhD levels, and professors at various business schools reviewed every email, memo, instant messages, and all the material to ensure its quality. And last but not least, there's a data collection and ongoing study. Those of you who do a lot of this work understand that studying an instrument and gathering validity data is never a job that's finished. You should always be continually collecting this. And it's pretty impressive that although this is a relatively new product, just came on the market basically a month and a half ago, there's already very strong and supportive evidence that scores within CapsimInbox are related to outcomes that we care about. So we're talking about learning and job performance and the key things that we care about when we're developing employees. And there's continual studies that are ongoing even right now to gather even more information for validity purposes. Bottom line is it's a solid evidence-based solution, and we know that it's job relevant and related, which is fantastic. Kirsten?
Thank you very much, Eric, for more information on that. So now we're going to go ahead and open it up to questions. But if you have any specific questions, please contact Sam. His contact information is on the screen right now. Sam is our Global Business Development Executive, and he can answer any questions specific about pricing or how to roll out the CapsimInbox at your organization. And now I'm just going to take a pause for a moment and take a look and see if we have any questions. All right, it looks like we have one here, Eric, that is about the industry. They're saying, this seems very manufacturing based. How do you address other industries like the service industry?
That's a good question. It's interesting. So I'll answer that in two parts. The first part is, the way this tool is designed is that we're trying to create situations that elicit certain behaviors that then indicate your skill level, how proficient you are. And so the attention is really given towards situations that anyone would confront regardless of the job or the type of organization that you're in. So the idea that it's based in service and manufacturing is more one of convenience because it provides a lot of different, or an easy way to create stories around these situations. The second sort of answer to that is this tool is customizable in that you can work with and change the narrative, change the skin to fit different industries. And that's by design because, again, the situations are the things that we focus most of our effort on because we wanted them to cut across various industries, whether it be healthcare, IT, and so forth.
Thank you, Eric. And again, if you want some more details on that customization, please go ahead and email or give Sam a call. All right, while you were talking, Eric, we had another great question come in. How do you assess communication if they're not actually typing or writing anything? How do you evaluate this skill?
Another fantastic question. Yes, so when you're watching this, you're probably wondering that all along. We're not requiring people to type things in or to record some voice response. That's by design. You certainly could do that in a tool. There are some there are some tools out there that do that. One of the downsides or disadvantages, if you will, of having typed responses is that the feedback is not immediate. You have to wait for it. There needs to be human raters that judge those responses afterwards. So it becomes more difficult and some implementation obstacles if you capture write-in comments and these sorts of things. So what we're trying to do in this tool when we assess communication is to really focus on the foundational skills that underlie communication, whether that communication is oral or written, etc. So the notion is, what are the key skills that underlie all forms of communication? So for example, in Inbox, we're focusing on the idea, do you understand your target audience, what their needs are? Are you able to identify and make a logical or evidence-based argument during communication or an evidence-based case? Are you able to choose what's the best medium by which to communicate? So all these kinds of foundational skills that drive communication, whether it be oral, written, and so forth.
Great. I have another question here. Can this be used for selection, Eric?
Oh, that's another good one. So CapsimInbox was designed primarily for developmental purposes, right? So giving people key skill-based feedback to promote development and learning. That said, as I just spoke of a moment ago, there is some very supportive validity evidence showing that scores and profiles that come out of CapsimInbox are indeed related to on-the-job performance differences. So that's good news. There's a lot of validity evidence there. But this is what I would recommend to any HR professional, regardless of the tool that you're using. You want to look for validity evidence, but you also it's good to collect local evidence as well. So not just does it work and there's supportive evidence, but also making sure that it works well at your own organization. And so Capsim can partner up with your company to help you conduct mini pilot studies to capture additional information, so you can have just even more evidence that the solution is working at your particular organization.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Eric. And again, for information about conducting a validity study at your organization, do contact Sam. All right, I have one more question for us, Eric, today, and this one's a good one. And they want to know, do you get the answers? Do we tell them why they should have chose option A or option B in question number 2? Why did employees score this way? How do we explain it to them?
Okay, so I'll answer this one in 2 parts as well. So the first part is we do not provide the actual correct answers to participants. One, because that's the inner workings, the proprietary information of the assessment itself. More importantly is that we really don't want people to focus on what the correct answer to some specific email might be. We want the focus to be on their overall skill level that they demonstrated within the assessment. So multiple emails, for example, give people an opportunity to demonstrate their proficiency in a particular skill, let's say leading. So to have them only focus on what the right answer was really misses the point, which is, this is the sort of level of your proficiency at a given skill. Now let's focus on improving that skill. Now, second part of that answer, we don't want HR professionals, learning professionals to feel as if they can't help debrief the inbox assessment with people as they're working with them to develop professionally. So there's also support documents that can be given out to administrators, trainers, support personnel that talk a little bit deeper about what happened and the experiences within CapsimInbox. So it gives more information about, okay, what is effective demonstration of leading or initiating or organizing look like in Inbox? So it allows you to take a deeper dive and have more in-depth conversations around what happened in the assessment to help people understand more comprehensively the way they demonstrated their skill level. So in short, no answer key, but a lot of information to help people work through the feedback that they get and why they received that feedback. Hopefully that answered the question. Kirsten?
No, that was a great answer. Thank you so much. So I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. If you have any more questions, you can email Sam or give him a call. He's more than happy to answer your questions. Thank you so much for taking the time this afternoon to learn a little bit more about Capsim and CapsimInbox. And I hope all of you have a fantastic evening. Thank you again. Bye-bye.